What's up, everyone? This is Omiglio, and today I have a pretty special video. Something that I'm curious about. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to stuff like this. From my understanding, this game is kind of like a mess. So let's check this out. Let's see how this plays.
Ripley? I'm Samuels. I work for the company. It's about your mother. We think we may have found her, Amanda. A commercial vessel, the Anisadora, has recovered what we believe to be the flight recorder unit of the Nostromo.
Where?
Zeta Reticula.
What did it tell you?
We don't know. The unit was taken to Sevastopol station. It's proprietorial material, so the company wants it to be collected as soon as possible. Sevastopol's a supply depot in the region. It's a permanent free port
I know what it
facility.
is.
Transit's arranged. There's a courier ship called the Torrens heading out that way in 2 days. We're going to travel out.
We?
Me and another exec. And you, if you're willing. Look, Ripley, when this job came across my desk, I read the case history. I know why you're working in the region where she went missing. You're still looking, aren't you? I've been cleared to offer you a place on the Torrens if you want to come along. Maybe there'll be some closure for you.
So yeah, about that. I don't know if you guys could tell, but there were major frame drops right there. You know, if I would have had this version alone back, growing up, I probably wouldn't have noticed so much because I did play a lot of PS3, back in the day, and I didn't really notice the frame drops. But now going back and playing it, especially that cutscene, the intro was, man, yeah, it was major frame drops. And so yeah, going back and playing it now, I can see the difference. And again, maybe that's because I grew up playing the PS4 version of it. But yeah, it's pretty noticeable and pretty bad. As far as like right now, it feels pretty good. It feels steady. It's mostly on that intro. The cutscene was pretty unbearable, I would say. But everything else feels pretty smooth. I mean, it looks pretty good too. Like, it doesn't look bad at all. It does look pretty good. The textures look good. And I am going to get into what I said earlier about depending on where you want to have your brightness settings. Makes a big difference, especially on this game. I can't think of another game where that actually makes a big difference other than Alien Isolation. Overall, when it comes to the lighting, I do prefer to have it at level 2. I just think it looks better.
Taylor, good morning. Ripley, it's certainly not good. I very much doubt it's morning either.
I know Taylor's having a dialogue right now, but I've also noted that on the PC itself too, if you compare this to the PS4 version, on this version, the lettering looks very faint. It looks very blurry. It looks a lot clearer on the PS4 version. So yeah, so you see those darker, that doesn't look too bad, especially when you hold the image. But yeah, there are some parts that look a little bit blocky, especially when it gets darker. Overall, not too bad. And that's one thing I noticed, is that on darker sections of the game, like, this game does look very blocky, very like dark blocks, and they haven't aged particularly well. But the reason I like it darker is because the areas like this with the lighting, the contrast of dark and light is just very well executed. See right here, this looks pretty good. On my screen, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna have to look at the video, but right here, you see these layers. It's like you see these different layers. Like, it goes lighter to darker. Yeah, that goes away if you set the brightness settings higher. But again, I just don't like the contrast. Like right now, it's a good example of the dark and the not so dark. The dark and bright. There you go. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan of you know, having the settings really bright. I feel like this game was made to be ran dark. I wouldn't say all the way dark because you have like the darkest setting. I wouldn't say that, but I would say level 2. Level 2 is the what's available by default, and I think that's perfect. But yeah, I just don't want to go bright because areas like this, the lighting really pops out. You see how the lighting pops out, the dark and the brightness. If I was to change the settings to watch, I'm gonna go to adjust the gamma just to prove my point. I'm gonna set it all the way up. So that background layers, they do look smoother. Everything will look smoother, but I don't think it pops as much. It's not bad actually. It's not bad. It still pops no matter what. It's still like, because that's a big part of this game. The lighting, man. They did a really good job with the lighting, and it still pops. But I don't think that it pops as much because everything's brighter. So I mean, yeah, they did such a phenomenal job with the lighting that it still pops. But I tend to prefer the darker setting just because I like that contrast. So I'm going to go back down to level 2. That's where I have it. And that's by default, by the way. Level 2 is default. And I just feel like here it pops a lot more. You see that? That's a good example right there. So yeah, I like my Alien Isolation played darker. One version that's actually newer than the Xbox or the PlayStation versions is the Nintendo Switch. And they did a really good job. If you want to watch that video, yep, you guessed it. It's a Digital Foundry did a video of the major frame drops. Where, as a matter of fact, right here, this is where Digital Foundry was, and they showed it. See, if you look at that background, that lock, as you're walking close to it, there's a lot of jaggies. It's pretty bad. It's like shining. There's so many jaggies. But believe it or not, on the Switch, it's actually better than the Xbox or PlayStation versions, where the jaggies are pretty much removed and it just looks like a solid object. Apparently, the Nintendo Switch version was pretty good to get rid of those jaggies. Yeah, there's just those dark chunks, those squares when it's very dark. You see all that pixelated mess? I think this game was honestly just pushing the this game was just pushing the PS4, I mean PS3, excuse me, to the limit. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Xbox 360 runs a lot smoother and looks better. I wouldn't be surprised of that at all. Again, you want more data, go to Digital Foundry. What do I think about this? Well, I'm a fan, so I do like it. But yeah, if you compare it to the other one, this is probably the worst out of all the ports. The PlayStation 3. And it's a lot of games, you know, a lot of games during this generation. Alice Madness Returns comes to mind. They just look, sound, play better, better frame rate on the Xbox 360. That is just the cold stone truth. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you. Oh, don't forget to hit that sub button if you guys are enjoying the content for more exclusive content from Omiglio. And as always guys, I will catch you absolutely
Friends
on the
of
next
yours?
video.
I've had run